Hey smokers, Draga1 here. I was gonna make this video later because I wanted to take some more days off of editing, but something has prompted me to make it sooner.
Not enough disk space? I've never seen that before in my life.
So that's right, my main game storage drive only has 117 megs free. That's ridiculous. So, instead of just buying another hard disk to throw in there, we're going to do this Draga1 style. That's right, with not one, but two 1 terabyte SSDs. That's right, two 1 terabyte SSDs for a total of 2 terabytes of storage. But we're not just going to put both of these in there, we're going to raid them together. That's right, we're actually going to make a 2 terabyte SSD raid. The most intense raid I've ever done. Now there are some drawbacks to this particular setup. This is a PCI Express 2.0 card, so in theory it won't be able to pull as good a speeds as, say, I don't know, PCI Express 3.0, but it's still not going to be bad, I'll tell you that. So we've all opened SSDs before, but we've never really opened a fresh RAID card box before. This is a little part that goes on the back, I guess, so you can see it blinking. Hello 9S. Okay, so now we have our anti-static bag. Now this is going to be a little bit awkward because I'm going to have two RAID cards in the system. Actually, I'm going to take out the other one at this point, because right now I have a RAID card in the system specifically for my optical drives. Oh, that's a little baby. It's a little baby. Look at this thing. It's so small. Oh, this is the low profile if you have a low profile case. That's what it is. And that hole is for absolutely nothing because there's nothing behind it. I guess you could put something there, but whatever. It has the 4 ports. So I can put the 2 drives on the 2 ports, and then I would then also have 2 free SATA 3 ports for plugging in anything else that I need SATA 3 on. Now this will not reach the exact same speed as the SATA 3 on my motherboard. It's just not going to do it. It's just under it. I don't remember what actually the bandwidth is, but chances are this will be another Draga flub, and it's going to have speeds that are totally not optimal whatsoever by using this. Ideally, I should be using the RAID stuff on my motherboard, but then I would have to use both of my SATA 3 ports on my motherboard. I only have 2 of them. That means I'd have to plug my boot drive into this. And, of course, I could make my boot drive the RAID, but that seems a little shaky to me. And then the other thing is I don't really want to go through the trouble it takes to either reinstalling Windows or migrating Windows onto the RAID. We all know what happened last time I tried to migrate Windows onto a goddamn RAID. It didn't work. This is the software we probably won't need. But we will if we ever want to install Windows with this. And this is the manual, which will tell us things that I might actually be able to figure out myself. Or at least I hope I will. Well, either way, I got everything I need in the box here. It's fantastic. And of course our 2 SSDs that are promising up to 550 megabytes per second of read. So multiplied by 2, that's 1100. So theoretical speeds, guys. I mean, really, the bus bandwidth on this, on PCI Express 2.0, is lower than that of this, I think. So really, all putting a stripe on this is going to do is it's going to double the capacity of the volume, and it might increase our random access times. But other than that, I don't see it actually really helping us out too much. But who knows? We'll see. That means I've shut down this. Okay, that works. Drag this behemoth fat ass of a case out of here. Oh shit! Now I thought I measured all the cables out so they won't rip out when I pull it out, but I've become skeptical of my own work here. Alright, so this is the side of the case. as you guys have probably seen before, usually it's a good idea to unplug your computer before you start working on it. I'll just be powering off the power supply, and I'll hope that'll be enough. So a little overview. We have the GTX 970, there's an AverMedia capture, a Sabrent capture, and this one down here, which I shouldn't be touching with the screwdriver, is the regular RAID card from the first Windows 10 RAID thing, which had the most disappointing speeds of all time. It was even slower than SATA 1. Actually, it just was SATA 1 speed. That's just what it was. So now that we don't have any conflicts, I'm going to take out that RAID card, because again, all it's doing is hooking up the optical drives, which are right here. So that one's gone, that one's gone. Pull that out. It's the old SATA RAID card. Still 4-port, but only PCI, so it doesn't do us much good. Now we have a couple choices where we can put the next one. We can put it in that second PCI Express slot right there if we want. Or in case I want another video card, we could avoid doing that altogether. Instead use this itty bitty one right here. There's a proper name for it, but I forgot what it was. And my camera thought one of the capacitors was a face. Now there appears to be a fan or something plugged into the jumper there, and it is obstructing our mission. So we will get a little bit more light there. So it does need to go upside down like this and slide right in. Now this heatsink is also going to be upside down, and hopefully the fans and all that will just blow all of the air through, and it'll be just fine. Now, wait a minute. What the hell? Great, I just dropped it on top of the other RAID card. Okay, so maybe that's for ass PCI Express stuff. Well, I clearly don't know anything about computers, so what the hell am I doing installing a damn RAID card? Who knows? Okay, so you are looking at the correct one now. And this is how it's supposed to go in, trust me. This is my last PCI Express port. I have 3 of them. Oh man. Well, what else would I have used it for? Who cares? So this is the part of the video where things get ugly, and I'm going to need to make some sacrifices. And I have an absolute mess of crap on my hands. So I have the Samsung SSD that's 250 gigabytes that I put in during the Doom video. That's going to have to get phased out and moved, and the game's moved onto the RAID that we're going to make. So the problem with that is we have a Steam tie-in to the location of that game. We have a Blizzard tie-in to that game because I also have Overwatch installed on there, so I can launch the game really, really fast, load up the level, and choose Soldier 76 before anybody else can. And then we have the main drive that has the games on it right now that's totally full. And that's going to have to stay connected. The boot drive's going to have to stay connected. This is going to have to stay connected, or else Dropbox will shit itself when it realizes that it can't find the folder anymore. And then the only drive you really can get rid of is this one. And that's the drive I was using for my paging file. Don't ask me why I was doing that. But we can sort of get rid of that for now. Unfortunately, that's using Molex power. That's not using SATA power. So my problem here primarily is I am out of SATA power ports for my power supply. They're just gone. Now I could use adapters temporarily, and I'm probably gonna, oh god, I could unplug the optical drives. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Oh shit. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Unplug this. Oh shit. Unplug this, and this, and there. We can put, oh, one more. We can put our SSDs right there on those. But since we should think of the opening of the SSDs as a sacred task, let's postpone it as much as humanly possible. So let's take this, and yank on it, I guess, because this is going to the optical drive. Or, no, you know what, let's put it in the top. And then this one pulling it for more slack. I'm going to plug it in right here. Alright, so that's done. Back up here again. That's our power. This is an SSD. There. Here's another SSD. Oh, shit. Okay, so I'm not good at putting SSDs in. So let's do a 1 terabyte unboxing. This is pretty much exactly like, this is actually pretty, this is, I believe this is the same line of ow, fuck. This is the same, look, I just destroyed it. Fuck my life. This is the same line of SSDs as my main SSD, which I got like 2 years ago. Should probably swap that out with something else. Don't really know what that's going to be yet. I don't really want my boot volume to be a RAID, as there could be so many advantages to that. I think I want to wait until I build a whole nother computer. Okay, I got it open. Does the 1 terabyte drive feel like a McDonald's Happy Meal toy? A little bit. Oh, it's a little heftier. I will say there's definitely more weight in there from the gigabytes. Yeah, there's some extra weight there. Ooh, look at that shiny finish, man. Oh, that's Gnarls Barkley. Okay, alright. So yeah, that feels nice, like how an SSD should feel. Like it's a piano finish, man. Oh man, I don't even want to put this in my grimy ass computer. Man, this thing is so expensive. Okay. Get in optical bay 3 there. Okay, and we need to plug in this. Now, the thing about the RAID card is that it supposedly supports some cool SSD RAID tiering mumbo jumbo that is probably meaningless, but I kind of want to read about it. Right, here we are. PCI Express 2.0 SATA revision 3, so it can't get really any faster than this. It says maximum transfer rate is SATA 6 gigabits per second, but I think if you look up the spec on PCI Express 2.0, you'll find out that that doesn't really match up. Port multiplier is not supported in macOS. Who gives a shit? Alright. So we got one in right there. We got the next one coming out. Let's do a whole... Let me see if I can do this any better than I did before. Aha! It's glued. The top is glued. So if I want the case to look nice, I pretty much have to open this. Oh yeah, look at that. See the glue? You try to do it with your fingers, it's gonna look like shit. Do it with a knife. You're gonna love my SSDs. The Chinese always make great stuff. Beautiful, beautiful. And there's another one. I didn't think I'm getting deja vu, man. This is not supposed to happen. Oh, God. Okay. So again, this is not going to be how they're going to be permanently set up, but chances are I'll set them up like that and forget about them, and then it'll just be like that forever. Huh, so where's that other SATA cable? Oh, there it is. Oh, God. I want to say these are so fragile, and I want to be so careful with them, but really, I'm less careful with mechanical hard drives, and they're the ones that really need the care. Okay, so, alright, I haven't backed up my computer in a while. I hope I don't, like, format all my drives trying to turn them all into one big fucking RAID. Just watch! So I'm going to leave the computer case open because I'm probably going to need to move things around. But let's try and turn the power supply back on. Power up the machine. The RAID card doesn't appear to have done anything yet. Now I need to press Control M before anything happens. I'm not used to sitting at a black screen for this long. Oh shit! Okay, so remember that dark screen? I literally just had to press Control M at it, and here we are. We're at the Marvel BIOS setup. Marvel technology. It must use some Marvel chips in there, even though it's a StarTech. Whatever, I don't care. Alright, so over here we have HBA 0, Marvel 0. Virtual disks, free virtual disks. So we have SSD 0, SanDisk Ultra, SATA SSD, unconfigured, size 894.2 gigabytes, 894.2 gigabytes. Both of them say SanDisk. I do not have a SanDisk anywhere in my system that's this large. I don't have a SanDisk anywhere in my system that's that large. So basically, that's going to be, I mean, you can see right here, SanDisk Ultra 2 on both of them. They have different serial numbers, but it doesn't really matter. Rotation rate just says solid state. So this seems like it has a lot of different stuff that's compatible with SSDs with this RAID card. It's not like old technology. As you can see, the copyright date up here is 2015, so it has stuff in there. It knows what SSDs are, and I'm assuming it knows how to use them in an optimal way. So let's see here. Shit. What was I doing again? Oh yeah. Okay. So basically, why I'm looking at those things is because I'm paranoid as fuck for formatting my disks. Now, this RAID controller cannot control anything that isn't connected to it, so it's not like it can just take control of my SATA ports and just format the rest of my stuff. No, it's not how it works. So, since these are the only disks that are connected, because they're set up, but we can use our logic to say that, you know, SanDisk, super paranoid logic, SanDisk and 800 gigs, impossible, because I don't have that except for the ones I bought, and this, impossible. So now we have to do something with this. And that's not how you do it. So, vendor configuration wizard. So it is already set up? I don't know. Configuration wizard, that's probably what we want. Use spacebar to select the free disk to be used in the array. Okay, so I want that one, and it puts a little asterisk next to it. Again, we have 800 SanDisk, spacebar 800 SanDisk, and I guess you want to press enter to confirm. HyperDuo, what the fuck is that? Oh, okay. I can only do RAID 0 and RAID 1 because I don't have enough disks to do RAID 1.0. Safe and capacity. I don't know what safe is. Is that like turn the safety on or something? Now it doesn't say HyperDuo anymore, and it just says RAID level. What the hell is HyperDuo? Well, it doesn't say anything about HyperDuo in there, but I don't know what HyperDuo safe is, and I can't even reselect it now, so fuck. Stripe size. I never figured out what the fuck to put there. I can change the name of the drive, which actually shows up in there. Threshold percentage. I don't have any idea. The stripe size is important because I do know that that ends up becoming your minimum file size. I only have to choose between 32 and 64? Okay, that doesn't give me much of a choice, but at least it doesn't leave me much room to be confused. Probably 32. However, if I have gigantic game files that are loading into RAM, 64 would be better to go to the bigger size, I think. Fuck. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, to be completely serious. Okay, so we're going 32 currently. We're going 32, going with the smaller size. RAID level becoming RAID 0. What should we have the name be? What did we have it last time? Marijuana, weed, or smoke? Let's have it be something better. I don't really know what to make it. Because this is what it's going to show up as when I create the RAID, as sort of the name of the drive itself. So I could just call it like games. I could just call it SSD Raid. And it's pretty generic, but I kind of like it. So let's go to next. Do you want to create this virtual disk? Boom, boom. Let's just rip our pants here. Okay, so we have SSD Raid. I believe it's created now. Now the size is not going to be exactly 2 terabytes, just because, you know, you had actual formatted capacity less, and then I'm probably going to lose some stuff for the RAID. Well, actually, I'll lose some to that as well. So I think we're done here. I don't have any working optical drives anymore. Okay, I can actually scroll over. Okay, how far can I scroll over? All right. Okay, so port. All right. So I got a little bit nervous because I thought I could have plugged in my other SSD in there, but I'm so paranoid after I formatted that one drive. Holy shit. Okay. So now we just want to F10, exit, save. Oh my god, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. Okay, well, it still boots Windows 10, so I think that's a good thing. Hear the grinding of a hard drive. Won't be hearing that for much longer. Okay, we're in. So now let's see what our computer looks like. Okay, so currently it doesn't even detect the disk because it's not formatted yet, so we'll want to go into disk management, and it looks like it already found it. Now this is always a tricky sort of beast. The disk itself is less than 2 terabytes, so master boot record is fuck off! So master boot record is okay to use. I kind of want to put as many disks as possible onto GPT. The GPT partition style is not recognized by all previous versions of Windows. I don't think that's entirely true. But here's the other thing. If I move this RAID to another computer, the likelihood of it being able to still work is about 0. So let's just be progressive and do GPT, I guess. So is that it? Did it initialize it? I don't know. So now we have disk 0, 1700 gigabytes. That is definitely it. It's the only one here that isn't formatted. New simple volume. So we got to use the new simple volume wizard again. This always scares the living shit out of me because I think it's making me format some drive. Give it the following drive letter. Definitely not E. Let's give it the drive letter Z because the other one was X. Format is NTFS. Volume level SSD Raid. Perform a quick format. Enable file and folder compression. No. What? How many file systems? Oh, you can make it exFAT if you really want, and that's great. I would never ever do that. Only by accident would I do that. Accidents do happen here on Drug 1. Okay, now I have so many fucking volumes in my computer. What the crap? Alright, we got it. Okay, here we go. 1.74 terabytes of SSD RAID goodness. Now, what is the next step? We got to do a thingamajig. We got to do a speed test. Now, again, we got the 64-bit version of Crystal Disk Mark. And so with Crystal Disk Mark, we can find our drive here. So we want to go to Z, right there, and let's just do a test on all of them. And this usually takes a little while, so let's wait. So this is one of those times where you wonder what went wrong, but you're kind of too lazy to fix it. That's one of those times. So basically, what possibly could have happened is the third PCI Express port may not have actually been PCI Express 2.0. Actually, I don't know if that's true or not. Because if you look at these speeds, they're a little bit lacking. Let's take a look at the 6 gigabits per second SATA 3, already BitLockered to slow it down on my main boot drive. 417, 394 on 2 SSDs. Remember, we weren't expecting much. This is the Samsung without BitLocker. Even higher. Down here are more understandable. You have SATA 2 for 1, mechanical for 2. These kind of read speeds are clear. This is an SSD, but this one's like a SATA 1 SSD, so it's crap. So these, that's understandable for SATA 2. So it's doing a little bit better than SATA 2, even though these are like SATA 1 speeds. And this is doing pretty good for itself right here. Even the singular drive, just the Samsung drives, but they're supposed to be a little bit faster, didn't quite reach that 550 ideal. I almost want to say I'd be better off plugging these in individually without RAID, and I'd be way better off. So, fuck. And then so you're thinking, oh, well that must mean that the sequential read and writes are pretty good too. But look at the sequentials. 435, 322 versus 359, 273. Which that should have been much higher, but I don't know, man. I just don't know. So what do? Do I start loading games onto this thing and just have a grand old time? I have no idea. But at least I can shut this back down again and I can start optimizing my cables. So yeah, it's driving me crazy. Here's the manual for the motherboard I have. Somewhere in here it's going to talk about either RAID or... No, I actually skipped right to it. To install PCIX 1X cards. Oh, so that's a PCIX 1X. PCI Express 1X. To install PCI Express 16X cards. It just says plug it in there. Well, I turned right to the right page. Holy shit. To install PCI cards, okay. So it's not very specific there. It's just... that was it. So they're all PCI Express 16. Why would I think they're anything else? Well, because back in the day, the Mac Pro lets you choose how to underclock your PCI Express ports, save on bandwidth or something. It's probably not the case with this motherboard. This is like a 2011 motherboard. Here we go. Here's another view of it. You can see on numbers 2, 5, and 7 are the... So let's say 5. Now this is actually one of the motherboards that supports PCI Express 3.0 if it's enabled, but this card doesn't even support it. So number 2 is what our graphics card is plugging into, and that's X16 one slot, single at 16X or dual at 8.8. 5, 16X at 2 at 8 mode. At 4 mode, compatible with PCIe 1 and 4 devices. So that means that I have to swap my AverMedia for the RAID card to get the real speed out of it. Thank God! So we're putting this under the knife. Can the RAID card survive being moved from one PCI Express port to the other? If it cannot, that's not a big deal because I don't have any data on it. So, tough shit. So we're not really going to change anything. I don't know if the RAID card has any onboard flash or anything that can keep memory of what it's done. But I hope so. And I hope my AverMedia game cap still works after this. I can't imagine that it requires that much bandwidth for frickin' streaming video, but I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so the HDMI and the VGA have been removed. It's a thing of beauty, isn't it? It's getting relegated to the lower levels. Pull this out and fight the USB header cables into position up here. So that's back in there. Let's just forget about screwing it back in. And let's leave the AverMedia game cap out. Here's an even more technical portion. 2x PCI Express 16x slots. Single at 16, dual at 8.8. So it's going to be at 8 mode. I'm going to like slow down my entire bus by doing this. And then one PCI Express 2.0. Max at 4x mode, compatible with PCI Express 1 and 4 devices. Even though it says X16 slot, maybe that's why my gaming shit has been lagging. I just had something plugged into the other port this whole time. I had to get a better motherboard. Okay, so it came back up and it still has SSD RAID saved, but the RAID's offline because one of the disks isn't detected. What the fuck? Probably one of them got unplugged while I was pulling on it. So okay, that's exactly what happened. This other one was not plugged in all the way. It did actually rip out. Some of you may have seen that. The status is now set to functional, so it should be working now. Everything good. Alright. So let's get this. Let it boot up. Okay, so good news. The SSD RAID is still here and it still has a bunch of shit in it. You can still go to properties and see that it's still there. If you go to hardware, we can still see that it's called Marvel RAID VD. So that's cool. So what are we going to do now? Let's run another test. See if it's any faster. Alright. Let's do it. Yay! An improvement! If I took my graphics card out, it'd be even faster! Hey, it keeps going up. I'm okay with that. That's a lot better. I was surprised to actually see a noticeable improvement in that area. That's pretty neat. But the problem here is that my computer could be running a lot faster than it is right now. Right now, the graphics card's running at 8x speed, which I don't know if that actually matters too much. Okay, so I forgot to take a screenshot of what happened, but I'm going to put the other frame in here to compare the speeds. And I'll probably put some text on the screen that tells you what the speed differences are between the two. In fact, I'll even give myself a little room to do that. So, it's definitely faster here. Before it was in the 300s. Part of this has to do with the PCI bus. Part of it has to do with, it's a PCI 2.0, PCI Express 2.0 card, not a 3.0 card. So I can't get the full use out of that. I wouldn't be able to get it anyway, because, you know. And then, yeah, and then there's some other stuff that I learned about my motherboard that I really need to pay attention to, because it's quite important. I'll live with this. This is okay enough, I guess. I'll deal with it for now. Eventually, I'm going to be getting, I'm going to be rebuilding my whole computer, and then I'll figure out what to do then. Again, I didn't want to use the on-motherboard RAID controller. I don't even know if I have one, and even if I did, I might be getting some better speeds, probably a lot better speeds, probably actually into the thousands. And I think that's how the real pros actually do it. But I'd have to sacrifice some performance on the boot drive angle of things, and if I switched my boot drive over to the RAID card to get anywhere near some decent performance with it, because otherwise I'd be plugging into SATA 2, it would probably have some problems booting off of the RAID card, and even if it could, it might not actually start up Windows. So this is kind of a shitty solution. This is a Drago 1 video. We do stupid shit, and it irritates people sometimes. But just know that if this is making you cringe, or this is really uncomfortable to look at, just know that I feel that just as bad as you do. And maybe I should try to rethink my life with what I'm doing here. But at the end of the day, we're all getting upset over numbers on a screen. Besides, I was just fine with loading my games off of a mechanical drive that was only giving me 150. And I wasn't waiting a whole long time for it. I have Doom on an SSD with this at around 520, and it takes the longest ever time to start up, so who cares? It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we're just trying to do stupid stuff. I don't know. So let's go back and look at the inside of the computer. Okay, so according to the manual, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to turn to a page that I already showed on screen. But an interesting part here is the PCI Express 1.1 slot right there, the really short one I tried to plug it into initially. That would have only given me 1x speeds. And the other thing is it shares its bandwidth with this, with the PCI Express 3rd slot. It also shares it with the USB 3 bus and the eSATA bus. So if you're plugging anything into this and the lower one, you're getting the short end of the stick, and you're going to have to put up with everything else. Everything else, though, the two instances of PCI Express, which is this my graphics card, and where the AverMedia was, and where the RAID card is now, it has dropped down to 8x speed. This is written somewhat poorly. It says 2 PCI Express 1x slot. Again, that's that. The other one's hidden behind the graphics card. You can't see that. So yeah. And the other thing is, if you take a look at this is the AverMedia card, which is really dusty. This is narrow enough here. I could probably put it right above the graphics card. I bet you I could. Let's try it. Now, will this lag as a result? Will I still be able to record in 60 frames per second? I have no idea. I want to assume that I can, because if this is a 1x slot, yeah, I think this is actually going to fit. Yeah, that's where it should have been from the beginning. He's putting that 1x slot to use right there. Now, and it sort of gives you a little reminder that you will be sharing bandwidth with USB 3. Don't really care. And that leaves our 3rd PCI Express slot unused at this point in time. And something tells me if I do use another PCI Express card, it's not going to be a RAID card. Now, something else I want to do is to get a little bit more speed out of some other drives, like my mechanical drives. They're not going to do too much stuff, but right now they're plugged into SATA 2 when they could be plugged into SATA 3. So I could plug some of the SATA cables into the RAID card, and it would just read them as regular SATA ports, SATA 3 ports. So in theory, I could get better performance out of the mechanical drive that way. I could micromanage this in any number of ways by putting certain things in certain places, but technically I don't think it's going to matter that much. So I might just leave everything exactly where it is, to be perfectly honest. Oh yeah, I forgot. My optical drives. I don't have any place to plug them in. I'm completely out of SATA power. The only thing I'd be able to do is use Molex power adapters, and I need to save those for the circuit machine when I'm doing experimental videos. Ah, shit, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know. But I think you guys get the idea out of this episode. You can see there's a whole lot of crap here. More crap than anybody really wants to deal with. I probably need to buy a bigger case. This is a mid-tower case. I probably need a full-tower case. Good lord. Every single SATA port on the motherboard's used up. I'll see you guys next time.